What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the part 7 of a story where Izuku became the shadow hero. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more information. Now, let's get into part 7. Izuku got away from the reporters who were hungry for information about All Might's protege. It didn't help his master. Mirio was lucky that his master didn't say his name, otherwise there will be more backlash than support, a reason being his simple human stupidity. If there was someone who could have helped All Might other than the second national rank hero would have been him. When Mirio heard All Might say that to the camera, he kind of wanted to punch All Might in the stomach. He could only use 35% of OFA. He was pushing his body every day to increase his control over One for All, but it was taxing to his body if he increased the percentage any higher. When he received that quirk, it was during spring break, just before the start of his 3rd year, and there was a lot of broken bones. OFA manifested as a golden aura around him. The higher he goes, the more visible the aura became. Like Izuku with his lightning, although at the beginning there was a lot of broken bones, he recovered somehow. He was lucky that All Might didn't mention his name, as he knew that the population will criticize him due to not helping at the Jeju Gator Hosu incident. Now Izuku was at the bunny's apartment spooning Rumi, whilst Gabriel was the big spoon for Izuku. The system user didn't know why, but the angel always loved being the big spoon. It was a complicated relationship, but they were sure to make it work. Even if Rumi and Gabriel had a lot of arguments, the two started to behave like sisters. Before Izuku went to sleep, he checked out what he got for notifications. Apparently defeating villains also gave him experience points. AFO and the sludge high-end gave him surprisingly another 6 levels. A new skill. Hand-to-hand expert LV.1, passive, and finally from the sludge high-end, he received 5% for physical pain nullification. It was pretty useful. Next day. The morning was uneventful except for the girls hugging Izuku's arms, not allowing him to leave. All three ignored his teleportation skill. He talked to Sass and Kalki for some time. Whilst this was happening, the two Kwamis started to tease him, which Izuku replied with a tongue out. During breakfast, which was made up of golden carrots, some fish and rice with a light soup, they talked about the day ahead of them. Izuku spoke, Aizawa-sensei wants us back in the dorms by tomorrow, so I was thinking of having a date night. The two looked confused, with Rumi asking, with both of us or 2 separate dates? Us 3 if that is okay with you two. The two females looked at each other and nodded. Izuku smiled lightly at that. Do you have anything planned for today, Bun Bun? She shook her head. This is my day off actually. Good, before we leave I want you to wear something for hiking. This got a raised eyebrow from Rumi, but she liked hiking so she would comply. 11 a.m. The girls were ready and so was Izuku, with both girls holding Izuku's hand. He used the skill Shadow Exchange with the shadow he left in Canada who had orders of finding a place with no light pollution. They traveled to a midpoint of a mountain. Now Rumi understood why she needed hiking gear. Why so dark, darling? And where are we? Gabriel asked. Izuku smiled. We are in Canada. The time difference is around 16 hours. We have around 2 hours to get on top of this mountain and we can see the sunset. But that the three started to walk up to the top, Gabriel just flew. Izuku could do the same, but doing physical exercise was relaxing for him. It took them less than 2 hours to reach the top where a blanket and a basket were located. We are here. Izuku said whilst wiping some sweat. He only had his fatigue go to 5. Rumi on the other hand fell on the blanket and rolled over to her back. It was exhausting. Rumi muttered. Gabriel pipped in. Wow, you seem tired, you must be weak. She said with a smirk at the end. The glare and some words were Rumi's response. At least I didn't cheat. Before any of the girls would have an argument, Izuku stopped them and said, look, the sun is setting. With that he sat down with Gabriel and Rumi both leaning on his shoulder looking at the sun setting down. Sass and Kalki too watched the sunset in Izuku's hair. The mountains with an occasional top filled with snow covered in luscious trees with a lock starting from under the mountain going for some distance. After some time Rumi's stomach began to grumble. Izuku chuckled at that, seeing the red-faced fierce bunny rabbit. Getting the basket of food and drinks, they began to eat it and converse with each other. After the sun fully set, darkness started to come over them. Izuku made a campfire to keep them warm whilst looking at the sky and seeing the stars with no light polluting the view. It looks beautiful, Rumi stated. Izuku and Gabriel nodded at that, with Izuku saying whilst looking at the moon looks beautiful, isn't it? Both girls looked at Izuku with some sort of blush. Sometimes the meaning in the Japanese language means I love you. The two girls just snuggled into Izuku's side smiling. A shooting star was seen above them with each of them wishing for something each. All of them thought of the same thing. I wish to have more days like these. The times are starting to look worse for the world, with a gate starting to appear, and most likely the villain number will rise due to All Might slowly going into retirement. They just lied down for a couple of hours, having each other's warmth around them with the campfires too. Next day. Izuku was just walking towards his dorm. Once he entered, there was total silence. All of 1A was sitting in the hall with Aizawa being there too. Morning. Biz sensei nodded to him whilst the other students kind of seemed downcast. What happened and where is Tsuyu? Aizawa just sighed. You might have not heard, but Tsuyu Asui was a traitor for all for one. Izuku rose an eyebrow. I kind of figured that out with Nezu some time ago. All of 1A looked at Izuku in surprise. Before anyone could say something, Izuku continued. What happened to her? She is currently with the police being interrogated for her reasons. The sensei answered. Mina then asked the teacher, what about evidence, with some of the students nodding. I shouldn't be saying it, but as you were her classmates I will tell you. Firstly, during your final summer exams, a video of Izuku's match against All Might and Maruko was recorded. As you knew, we told you not to bring your phones or record. Nezu saw a flash of a phone and saw it was Tsuyu recording. After the video of the phone was leaked out, Nezu made sure the angle of the camera was in the same position that Tsuyu was in. This may not say much, but it allowed Nezu to have an idea. Secondly, after the camp attack, we found a GPS chip in her bag. This could have been someone framing her, so one of the policemen with a truth quirk asked her, and she answered that she was a spy. He finished the explanation. Everyone was quiet. There were undeniable facts, and all bar Izuku saw Tsuyu being taken away from their dorms. Izuku on the other hand thought differently. This will make our gourd go down, meaning there is a second spy somewhere in UA. Aizawa then walked up to Izuku and spoke, good to have you back from Korea and Canada properly. Izuku nodded and made Burrow go into Aizawa's shadow, giving him Izuku's thoughts on the matter. How is Hitachi? Then you replied in a calmer tone of voice, he is alright. Recovery girl checked him over, but he is fine physically. He will have meetings with Hound Dog for some time though. Izuku nodded to that. Nerd, good to have you back. Katsumi said whilst coming over to him and hugging him. Thanks Kaken. He hugged her back. Eventually all of 1A joined in the hug. They may have not known each other for long, but everyone was precious to them. Even Izuku warmed up to everyone properly. But Aizawa. He entered the office with Nezu. When they wanted to start talking, Burrow came out of Izuku's shadow. You must be Burrow. Nezu's excited tone asked. Burrow just nodded and spoke. My beautiful and magnificent liege told his humble servant, I bear to inform you of something. Both Nezu and Shota sweat dropped at that, but it was fascinating seeing a shadow soldier talk. My liege spoke that this Tsuyu person may be a distraction for you lowly humans to loosen your guard. Aizawa's eye twitched being called lowly human, but Nezu had a glint in his eye. Interesting, why is that? Nezu asked, interesting in this fascinating shadow. Another worthless spy may be in UA. My liege doesn't really have any evidence of who this lowly being is, but rest assured Rad and Human, the army and I will find who it may be. With that Burrow disappeared going to his liege. That is a weird shadow. Aizawa spoke in an even tone of voice. Nezu nodded, Burrow is interesting, I won't lie, but he is funny. With that chuckling was heard from the office. Status. Name. Izuku Midoriya. Job. Shadow Monarch. Title. The one who overcame adversary, +4. Level. 144. Fatigue. 0. HP. 35,920. MP. 30,580. Strength. 313. Agility. 304. Sense. 319. Vitality. 312. Intelligence. 442. Remaining points. 0. Physical damage reduction. 15%, plus 50%. Physical pain nullification. 37%. It was a couple of days after the revelation that Tsuyu was the spy. Luckily the media didn't know it, so it was all under wraps. During those 4 days the class started to train together more often. The only person who was allowed to leave was Izuku from their class. A reason being was the gates. After the Jeju Gate, more gates started to appear around Japan and some countries. They gave Nezu the gate readers for him to send out for other hero commissions around the world. There were reports of multiple places about monsters breaking out of a gate from human negligence, the human death toll gone up due to once again stupidity. Humans can be curious but stupid at the same time. The heroes of Japan were doing alright with dealing with the gates. Izuku mostly sent out his shadows to complete the gates, and for them to only B rank and upwards monster corpses. He thought about C rank boss monsters, but he needed stronger shadows from now on. Due to Izuku only rising up 1 level during this time, he decided to leave them in his inventory until his shadow limit properly increases. His shadows and himself actually dealt with 21 E rank gates, 11 D rank gates, 4 C rank and 1 B rank. The B rank that his shadows completed was an animal-based gate, the animals inside metal armor and claws made up of metal. It was funny knowing only Burrow completed that gate and ate a lot of them, gaining 5 levels just by eating some of his opponents. Burrow's skill of gluttony was one of the most useful skills in Izuku's honesty. If Burrow ate a part of his opponent, he will receive some quirks to his arsenal. The most powerful of the ants gained a couple of useful boons, such as physical damage reduction from the slime high end, which Izuku actually made a shadow recently, increased speed from the cheetahs in the B rank gate, and thicker skin from an elephant type of monster. Burrow is the fastest growing shadow in his army. Additionally to completing some gates that was on constant news, he had a lot of shadows searching for Nana. For some reason that Izuku cannot explain, his stomach twisted in a bad way, like when he will finally find her he won't like it. This day he sent out one of his shadows to go on top of Mount Fuji so he can teleport there without the use of Kalki. He started to walk towards Nezu's office, saying he will be completing a gate when he was stopped by 3 girls. "Oh hey girls," he said with a smile on his face. "Nerd, you going to a gate?" Katsumi asked. Izuku tilted his head but nodded. Heian asked, "Can we go too?" With Shoko nodding as well. He sighed and told them, "I am going to an S-rank gate." The 3 girls had their eyes widen at that fact. "We are going with you," Katsumi demanded, coming close to his face. She had to go on her tiptoes to even be close to his face at that point. At that point Izuku had a neutral face on him. Then a challenging smirk appeared on Izuku's face whilst looking at Katsumi's face. Then Izuku felt someone rushing towards them. Looking to the right, a blue blur appeared and crashed into him, bear hugging him. Izuku smiled and patted the person's hair. "Hey Najire, long time no see." She pouted whilst looking at Izuku. "We didn't see each other during summer." Shoko, Katsumi and Heian just looked flabbergasted whilst looking at the duo. "Anyways, I need to go to Nezu. I found a gate and will complete it." "Can I go with you again?" Najire asked, with the 3 classmates of Izuku had one thought again. "You're a big 3 member, so you ask me." He looked at Katsumi, Shoko and Heian. "We can go tomorrow. It will be an A rank gate, so it will be a challenge for you without a big chance of you dying." They nodded reluctantly. They did wanted to go with him and spend some time with him. During the summer they thought that they would spend more time with Izuku and ask him out, as they knew that he won't ask them out as he is dating Maruko, but after discovering about Gabriel their hopes went up hearing about that. They gave Izuku a hug, whilst 2 with actual provisional hero licenses went to Nezu. 30 min later, Mount Fuji. Nezu gave them permission easily enough as they still have some time before UA starts again. In 2 days he will need to attend as they will be doing super moves, but he also informed Izuku that Star and Stripe asked when will he be ready for their part-time internship. When Rumi heard about this, a jealous look came over her, but Izuku promised that he will be in USA, as much as he will be working under her for internships, which made he a little happier. Najire was just shocked. The amount of questions that she asked nearly caused Nezu to pass out from information overload. Even with his increased intelligence, sometimes the bubbly woman was too much for him even. It was also funny seeing her reaction when Izuku told her he is 17 now, as his birthday was during the summer holidays. Shock then surprise then late birthday wishes, whilst the 2 laughed on top of the cold Mount Fuji. "As you know, I have keys for some gates. This is one of the 2 I have planned on going in the summer." The curious eyebrow was risen. "Will it be similar to the scary gate that we've been in? Will it have scary monsters?" Najire asked. "Apparently this gate is called AKATSUKI, whatever that is, and truthfully I don't know about the monsters." Izuku answered her. She just nodded and Izuku got the key out of his inventory. Item: AKATSUKI Gate Key. Item class: S. Type: Key. Collection: 1. Key to AKATSUKI Gate, location top of Mount Fuji. But that a blue gate appeared and they both jumped into it. "You have entered a gate." What greeted the 2 was not what they expected. It was a clear night with stars shining like what Izuku saw in Canada, but there was a difference. The moon was red. All around them were cliffs with a body of water circling the duo. They were standing under some kind of old Japanese-style hut with a statue in the middle. It was a wooden statue, but you could see the detail under some moss and vegetation surrounding it. A woman with long hair, she had 2 horns coming from her head and what seems to be a 3rd eye on her forehead. There was something off about her that both noticed. A smirk was etched on her face. Alarm. Quest: defeat the AKATSUKI Part 1 quest of the Key Collection. AKATSUKI was originally a group of 11 S-class missing ninjas from a universe far away. Defeat the 11 to continue with your collection. Rewards: Reward 1. Gate Key. 2. Reward 2. Random skill from the opponents. Reward 3. Killed. 011. Najire. This got her attention. "We have 11 opponents that we have to defeat. I can feel them, but I cannot even pinpoint them." She gulped, and the second after she gulped, the face on the statue widened her smirk. "But Star and Stripe. I cannot wait, 1 more week and Izuku will be coming to USA. Then she halted. Izuku is coming to USA. Shit, I need to tell my bros. The duo kept in contact after Island, but when she officially sent in the forms for Izuku's part-time internship teacher, she kind of forgot to tell her bros about it. Her bros are the ones who usually deal with the aircraft and are all older than her. When she employed them, she asked for experience than quirk type. All of them were glad about it, and they all treated her as a little sister. Now she was stressing out. New law, the air in front of myself will have no resistance whilst I travel. With that she sped up to her agency, forgetting that she had a phone that she could have called them. But the mysterious granddaughter of Afo. She was excited. She was able to be transferred from Shiketsu High to UA. She didn't go to UA from the start because her grandfather asked her that the opportunity is not right. Even though she never properly followed in the footsteps of her grandfather, she didn't care about what he was doing and the League of Villains project that he had going on. I will see you soon, Izu. She then kissed a photo off him and placed it in her drawer as her friend Kami came into her room. Yo girl, I heard what happened. Congrats yo. Kami hugged her friend, which she reciprocated. I also heard the hot eye that you've been crushing on is there. A teasing smirk appeared on her face. The granddaughter of one of the most powerful villains backed up with her hands covering her beautiful face that had a blush on it. What do you mean? She stuttered out. Don't lie to me girl, you've been hot and bothered by that hot eye Monarch. Kami was then kicked out of the room by a kick to her stomach. Ah. Sorry. She stammered out whilst closing the door. Kami just shook her head and laughed it off. The granddaughter of Afo slid down her door. I cannot act like this when I meet him. She had blonde hair with light blue grayish eyes, with a height of 5'8". She was in her casual wear as she finished her class some time ago. Since she was little she always wanted to be a hero, but had a small problem, obsessions. If she wanted something, she will get it no matter how much sweat, tears and blood she produced. Her first obsession was becoming a hero to change the society and to help those people who cannot protect themselves or are shunned. Her second obsession was gardening. At home she had a garden with healing herbs and had a hidden plant area that produced poisons and toxins. For most of the time she didn't have an obsession, but now she had found someone who she was interested in, Izuku Midoriya, otherwise known as Shadow Monarch. At the beginning he was a normal student who was really strong, then he got more and more famous with Maruko and Stain capture. Later on was him capturing a lot of villains of the streets, then Island, then it was finally Jeju Island and Kamino. He was strong, hot, powerful and apparently nice. She thought that she may have a chance at the beginning, but now she will get him. She had a powerful quirk, with her original quirk is amplification of oneself by 120%, with that on its own can make her throw a car like it was nothing. But with her grandfather giving her a physical boost quirk and bodily quirk canceller that doesn't allow her to be brainwashed or have Tsukauchi able to see if she lied or not. The physical boost was her registered quirk, but there was something that Afo didn't expect her to do with her own original quirk. It was to use it to amplify the bodily quirk canceller. What it does is to make the person not be able to use their quirk for 5 minutes if it's a mission or transformation, and for mutant was to not have their bodies move for 2 minutes. But with the strength that is continuously growing and her cancelling ability, she is debatably one of the strongest students in Japan. With Izuku and Nijire. Seeing the smirk widen on the statue, the both got ready just in case whatever may happen, and the shit started. A massive water attack was sent from all sides with what seemed as sharks floating in between them. Pushing Nijire behind himself, Izuku used the skill. Gravity manipulation and pushed the water away. But the next thing was 100 puppets with some white human look-alike. Widening their eyes, Nijire started blasting 20% blasts, whilst Izuku used his skill. Fire manipulation and threw a massive blast of fire in front of them, destroying some of the fire, but all of it was sucked into one body. Pre-top path body. Then from behind that body, a blue man came out with a shorter figure with red eyes that have 3 commas through it. Pisum tailed beast. Itachi clan slayer. But the blue man going straight for Izuku whilst Itachi went for Nijire, trying to split them apart. Izuku summoned his dagger and gave it to Nijire whilst also saying, "Come forth." The two not expecting this, they jumped back where Izuku could see other members, but also some bodies that are connected to one member. Idara the Mad Bomber. Haiden the Jashinist. Bikuzu the Immortal. Conan Angel of Death. Orochimaru of the legendary Sannin. Sasori of the Red Sands. Thobi the Masked Uchiha. Zetsu Wicked Tongue. Eva Path Body. Asura Path Body. Human Path Body. Animal Path Body. Baraka Path Body. Pain. Izuku and Nijire just gulped, seeing this. The power and killing intent coming from all of them was something to fear. He even thought that All Might wouldn't be able to defeat them, and normal com's rank gate. And this is what we get. Nijire just nodded silently. With all 11 members up on a cliff with the 6 so-called bodies of the pain guy, Izuku and Nijire will have to face 17 members at once with a lower amount of shadows. Izuku only has Burrow and Mikao, he left Gabriel to be at the dorms just in case or help with gates. One shadow may be not present, but the strongest shadow would probably be useful at this moment. Orochimaru sent out a wave of fire that was amplified with Itachi's Amaterasu, the black flames was further amplified with Pain's wave of wind. Fisher and all water-using shadows tried their best cancelling the fire attack to no use. Izuku took Nijire and jumped back, the shadows seeing that their liege will only have his MP decreased if the fire attacked, they jumped away, except some lower level shadows who turned into shadows as they were hit. With that attack, Kisame, Orochimaru, Haiden and some puppets from Sasori were sent out to kill the two humans. The shadows came up and started fighting with all of the AKATSUKI members, whilst Izuku was dealing with Kisame and Nijire, with the puppet controlled by Sasori. It was chaos. When the blue fish man jumped towards Izuku with the sword made of gills on show, the greenette pulled out his spear, and the two clashed. Izuku could feel the light pull of energy being sucked out of himself into the sword. Widening his eyes, he jumped back, he used the skill gravity manipulation to pull Kisame towards his spear. The monster was impaled, but when Izuku thought he died, the body turned into water. Izuku saw the man do a couple of hand movements, a smirk appeared on that man's face when multiple water sharks jumped out of the water onto the student. Using the skill sprint, he rushed behind the man who was in shock and slashed his back with his spear. Izuku felt that some energy was coming from the sword into the man, so he theorized that the way to beat Kisame was to get the sword away from him for the time being. When he was about to touch the sword, paper shurikens hit the location where he would have been at. Seeing it was the Conan lady, the only female who isn't a clone hovering above the duo, with no concern about the other shadows surrounding her. Sometimes Nijire cursed her curiosity, she did want to become stronger, who didn't, but this was a little too much for her. She had to use 100% attacks, but when the puppet was destroyed another came into its place, she thought that there must be a master who controls the puppets. She had to dodge silver sand by rolling to the side and slashed a white being in two. Apparently those were some clones but are pretty weak, possibly to tire someone out. Those opponents she was fighting now looked human, too human for her taste, but what can she do? Those were monsters anyways. Using her dagger she slashed at one of the puppets, whilst dodging some sort of needles that have a colored liquid coated on them. She looked over at Izuku and didn't like what she saw. As Izuku saw that Conan was above him, two bodies of pain appeared. The animal and the Asura path. He cursed his curiosity as just from the animal path a couple of animals were summoned with a weird purple rippled eyes, a multi-headed dog, a centipede and a rhino. The three summons rushed towards Izuku or any of the teen's larger shadows. The rhino was having a pushing competition with Fluffy whilst the dog was fighting Slimy. The centipede tried rushing Izuku but with the skill gravity manipulation, he pushed the shadow away knocking some white zetsu and a bomb apparently. Igris was fighting Haiden and he was getting pissed. Cutting the head off didn't work, smashing the body didn't work, exploding the body with his Dominator's touch too didn't work. Heck, at one point before Fluffy was fighting the rhino, the tall bear even sat on the man. Baru, who was dealing with Zetsu, saw the predicament that his fellow captain faced and came to help. Baru's fight against Zetsu was interesting but boring. The Zetsu could produce white clones which were around mid-kink strength but had some wood attacks too. The trickiest bit was finding him. Zetsu could move faster than his liege but underground. Ignoring the pest, the shadows with Izuku and Nijire needed to actually kill an AKATSUKI member off. Using all of his speed he rushed at Haiden and bitten of his head and swallowing it. It may be gruesome for others, but this was the only way to beat this guy, though he was probably the weakest out of the 11. Haiden the Jashinist has been defeated. When Izuku saw this, a small smirk appeared on his face. The diva path that he was battling against whilst trying to get the other three pests away was an annoyance. The weapons that this body produced was something that he would have been interested in before his coma, but now he wanted to kill the Asura path. He did lose some health from a bullet hitting his shoulder, but most of the damage was reduced thanks by his armor. Using a kick to get the man away whilst throwing his spear with skill. Spear throw a Conan who dissolved into thousands of papers. Idara was being dealt with Mikao, the bombs was partially cancelled by one of the three faces on Mikao's head. It was similar to Kakuzu actually, the Posian reduced the explosions, and that is a reason why Diodara lost an arm already. Itachi jumped in to help after he defeated Dracula, or so he thought, when the Grand Elder Vampire jumped into the battle causing a 2v2 to occur. What Itachi didn't think was that Dracula would get out of his Tsukiyomi that quickly. Bikuzu was being dealt with most of the other shadows who are not dealing with the puppets or white Zetsu clones. One of the reasons was him having 4 black threaded shadows that had a heart in each of the 5 could use a certain element, and their teamwork was amazing. The amount of mana Izuku lost in this battle was something to say, but nevertheless, a seductive vampire defeated the wind heart but a sneaky tactic then shattering it. It pissed off Kakuzu a little, but he carried on. But when the earth heart was destroyed, some anger escaped him. The earth body was meant to be the strongest in defense, but it was destroyed by Uriel, sending a blast of light in a high concentration, penetrating through the defense, killing the heart. Orochimaru and Tobi were dealing with Baruka and Raphael. The two had surprisingly good teamwork in using the opponent's weaknesses against them. When one of the shadows would attack, one of the foes would dodge, but the other would use their deceptive nature to make a blow on a shadow. Human path body was defeated 1/6. Defeat all 6 bodies to defeat pain. It was Beast with the help of 2 elder vampires. It was probably the weakest body. Neither of the 3 saw what it could do, but its hand-to-hand combat was something else. It took roughly 2 minutes to kill of the body. But with that the 3 joined into other fights, with Beast joining the fight against Orochimaru and Tobi. Izuku saw that Pain was the only one not fighting. He thought that he was the boss of this gate, but something didn't make sense to him. He wasn't the strongest, Tobi was, so why was Tobi playing with Beast, Baruka and Raphael? He sent out a kick to kiss him whilst he shot a fire wave at Conan. What he got in return was a lot of papers coming to him with a symbol. It only took a second to realize what that was. He used skill Sprint to get away as an explosion just occurred that covered the part of the area in dust and debris. The way he figured out what they was because he felt an energy signature on them. Also the kanji that was written was old-style Japanese. Sending multiple black whips, he caught Samehada with Kisame. He threw Kisame towards Deidara whilst getting hold of the sword. He started to counter-attack the Asura path. Samehada chose as their owner. They feeded the power of one individual, be it Izuku's Monarch Kisame's chakra. So seeing that the sword didn't take Izuku's hand up was something for Kisame to see. When Izuku and Asura clashed, more debris fell around them. The animal path summoned a panda which had the same eyes as the other summons. It was due to the rhino finally being dispatched by Fluffy and some of the other shadows. Izuku saw the predicament and formed blue on his finger and shot it out towards the panda. It hit Pre-Top-Path's barrier which swallowed the attack. Widening his eyes at that, Izuku jumped upward surprising Conan. He slashed downwards with Samehada. When the Angel of Death tried to make herself become paper, the sword cut some of the skin off. Nijire used the dagger that Izuku gave her and slashed one of the white Zetsu, but she was suddenly pushed backwards. She looked and saw the Diva Path body. Gulping slightly, she sent out a 60% energy wave at the body, but it was evaded like it was nothing. Slightly cursing, Nijire started to fly in the air to get a favorable position, but was shocked when the Diva Path did the same thing. Multiple ant soldiers came rushing at that path, but was sent back onto the cliff like nothing. Sending out multiple 10% beams at the Diva Path, she started to pant. One of the beams hit the body, but was surprisingly healed by one of the other paths, the Naraka Path. That path healed up the Diva Path like nothing happened. Uam. A massive explosion occurred near Nijire. It was Deidara who created one of his massive explosive clay structures. Mikao was annoyed. The blonde female-looking guy didn't have many opportunities of getting closer, and the wind and bullets did nothing to him. The only thing that works was the poison produced by the high end, but that explosion took out half of the shadow. It only took 10 seconds to get back into the original position, but it was too late as Deidara escaped the reaches of Mikao. Looking around, the shadow saw that Nijire was in trouble and went to help her with the 2 bodies, and also the puppet that can control the silver sand. The magicians shot multiple fireballs at the approaching white Zetsu clones, then one of them started using the location spell looking for the main body of Zetsu. Fisher was just behind them waiting for their help locating the body. When they located it in the water, Fisher seemed to have a smirk on its face. Using the high control of water, the shadow made it condense around Zetsu and bring it to the surface where it was later on crushed by the pressure of the water. Zetsu Wicked Tongue has been defeated. They knew that Zetsu may be weak, but the cloning technique was one of the worst things. They may not feel tiredness, but they need to help their beloved liege and his friend as they can get tired. With the original Zetsu being defeated, all of the white Zetsu clones dissolved into the ground. This allowed the shadows to help defeat the rest of the AKATSUKI and the puppets. Now the magicians were looking for the puppet master. Sasori of the Red Sands was using all of his power to control 30 puppets, and the third Kazukiage, using his precise control over his chakra, he sent out more strings making 69 puppets rise up. He was using a technique that can control 100 puppets at this current moment, but was shocked when Aleshi smashed into his body, making his original modified body fly away. Orochimaru saw that and broke up from Tobi who understood what he was doing. Tobi in the meantime said, "I am a good boy." Baruka and Raphael seemed to growl at that. The Seraph then sent out a light whip, but it went through Tobi. The two needed a method of getting Tobi under them. As of now the man was playing with the 2 shadows. The Sannin then slashed his Kusanagi blade downwards cutting of the Leshi's hand, whilst sending snakes out of his hand towards Fisher. The Gothic vampire tried going from behind him, but the Kusanagi expanded its length cutting the shadow in 2. The chicken cottage shadow then pierced Orochimaru as he underestimated the building shadow. Expecting a pained frown, all they received was a smirk, then a new body was burped out from Orochimaru. The shadows had their eyes widen at this. Fluffy was the biggest in the army of his liege, but now dealing with the rhino and the panda who were both smaller but hit hard was a pain. They caught the centipede and used it as a whip from its mouth. Even though his intelligence was low, he understood that the body of the animal path needed to be destroyed for those summons to leave. The multi-headed dog was actually facing the scorpions, the number of dog heads risen up to 4, but the movements of the summon was getting slower and slower due to the toxins in its system. The Deathstalker scorpions have the second most powerful toxins in them after Mikao in the army of their master, and it showed. The ogre boss, who was riding on the Siberian bison, was smashing its club, destroying some puppets, but with the speed the bison managed to create and the smirk on the ogre, they charged at the dog, with the ogre making a hole in the center of its body. Izuku was shooting his shadow towards Conan, whilst dodging the Asura path. The animal path was at the back with the pre-top path guarding it. Occasionally one of the alchemists would do a suicide attack, trying to distract the pre-top path, whilst another shadow would try to destroy the animal path. Itachi had an idea. Using his kunai and shurikens, he threw them in a certain pattern, making the strings on the end join together. He left Idara alone, as he knew a massive explosion will occur. The one in the center was actually Slimy. The slime Nomu came to deal with Itachi, as he couldn't defeat his opponent, so he swapped places. That is also another reason why Itachi is fighting the Nomu. Slimy was caught in the middle, and then Itachi used his fire chakra to start burning the Nomu. To the Uchiha's surprise, the Nomu went through the strings, whilst sending an elongated hand with slime capturing Itachi. Thinking quickly, he used Amaterasu to make the shadow into goop. When that was happening, he used his crow shunshin. Slimy did indeed went into his smoke form, but reformed quickly, catching Itachi off guard and got him covered in his slime. With this action, the clan slayer was no more. Itachi clan slayer was defeated. But that being said, Slimy went to help Najire. The girl was panting. After being treated like a throwing toy with the diva's path power, she spat out a small glob of blood. Damn it, why am I weak? Najire then looked over Izuku and saw that he was being pushed back by the Asura path. She saw that all of his attacks were absorbed by the pre-top path, and now Izuku had to deal with Kisame and Conan. They were lucky that 4 died, but they still have a lot to go through. Mikao and Slimy were both in front of her whilst an angel came down to help heal Najire. Smiling slightly, she stood up and told the shadows around her, the diva path has gravity control, and the other one can heal, but I swear is not all. All around her the shadows nodded and rushed in. Mikao went from above whilst Slimy went from the right. A couple of shadows went in a different direction as they needed to defeat as many of the AKATSUKI members as possible. Mikao was pushed back, whilst Slimy got close as the diva path couldn't push them back yet. Using this opportunity, the slime got around the diva path and started to crush the body until the 5 seconds run out, pushing the slime back into a wall. Suddenly the King of Hell was summoned by the Naraka path, crushing some of the shadows. The king tried to grab onto a shadow, but they didn't allow it. Using this opportunity, Najire shot a 100% energy beam at the Naraka path, destroying it. She smirked at that. Naraka path body was defeated 2/6. Defeat all 6 bodies to defeat pain. Izuku saw that 1/3 of all bodies of pain were defeated. Using this as motivation, he threw his spear into Kisame and used his sword to shave of his face. But as fate likes to mess with people, Deidara rushed in with his clay bombs, bombing Izuku's location. Dracula, who was of the shadows dealing with a mad bomber, rushed in but went towards the other AKATSUKI members like other shadows did. Orochimaru was having a hard time dealing with his opponents. The battle was a mess. With the change of opponents, he now has to deal with burrow. The ant rushed in, cutting the body in half, but it turned out to be a clone made of rock. The man sent out multiple larger snakes from his arms, but burrow ate some whilst killing the others. What he got from the Jashinist was a more resilient body and a higher regeneration factor, from the snakes a smoother skin that is fractionally harder to pierce. Rushing in, he tried to slash with his claws, but got blocked by the Kusanagi. 2 of the virtues came from behind Orochimaru and sent out their attacks made from lightning. It pierced the snake Sannin, but once again a new body was thrown out from his mouth. The fight between Izuku and Kisame ended after he shaved off the face of the tailless-tailed beast. A weakness of the blue man was that he was too reliant on his sword. So after taking the sword and tiring the man a bit, he used the moment to stab his spear through his mouth and upwards, destroying his brain before he could use a water attack. With that, the body slumped downwards. Kisame tailless-tailed beast was defeated. He had to dodge some paper and metal projectiles coming from the Asura path and Conan, but otherwise pulled the spear out of Kisame and threw it at the animal path. The pre-top path tried its hardest to stop the spear, but as Izuku reinforced the skill. Spear throw with skill. Fire manipulation, but on the side added a skill. Bloodlust, the pre-top path faltered. But that small mistake, the spear went through the defense into the head of the animal path, smashing its body to bits as it hit the cliff behind. The animal path body was defeated 3/6. Defeat all 6 bodies to defeat pain. All of the summons that was on the field disappeared, freeing 50% of the shadows, including Fluffy, the angels and the ogre bison duo. With that, the AKATSUKI was on the losing side of the battle, right? With the fast defeat of more and more of their members. Sasori and Orochimaru was finally separated as Barry didn't like having its prey escape. The puppeteer was now facing Fisher, and behind the fishman was Uriel ready to shoot their light magic. The Kazekage puppet was destroyed, all his puppets were too destroyed, he didn't see a way to win. But nevertheless, he started shooting poisonous weapons at the shadows, but was blocked by Uriel's light barrier. With that, Fisher shot multiple condensed balls of water at the human puppet, cracking and splintering until the heart of Sasori was no more. Sasori of the Red Sands was defeated. Now Uriel went off to help defeat Toby, whilst Fisher went to try help defeat Kakuzu. Talking about the immortal, he wasn't immortal, but had 5 lives with his 5 hearts. 2 of the hearts was already destroyed, and now the rest of the hearts were being threatened as more shadows came towards Kakuzu. The ice elves shot their ice-enhanced arrows at the black string messes that had the lightning heart, whilst that body sent out lightning out, taking a few lower level shadows out. But from the ice, the body slowed down, allowing Zadkiel to slash it down, killing the 3rd heart of Kakuzu. The only hearts left were the fire and the water ones, the original and the body. Wanting to help their beloved liege, Fluffy came flying towards them from a gravity attack from the diva body, crushing the fire heart Akka. The additional heart. Leaving only Kakuzu, trying to use his string powers. The defense of the body was impressive, but nothing that Zadkiel couldn't deal with, and like that, Kakuzu was no more from a diagonal slash from Zadkiel. Kakuzu the immortal has been defeated. 6 out of the 11 AKATSUKI was no more, with 3 of the 6 paths 2 being defeated. Now the shadows with the 2 humans had 8 opponents from the 17 they had at the beginning. Nijire was getting her hopes up. With the concentration of the 8 AKATSUKI villains, the shadows gone to help to defeat Toby, some tried pain, but they were destroyed or helped Nijire. Izuku used the same strategy as to defeat the animal path by throwing his spear downwards as he was in the air fighting Conan. The spear got through the moving defense as the pre-top path was rushing towards the diva path. But once again the spear broke through the defense and killed off the pre-top body. Pre-top path body has been defeated 4/6. Defeat all 6 bodies to defeat pain. Now only Diva and Asura path were left. Igris used this opportunity and rushed from Diodara, who still was dealing with Mikao, and went towards Asura. The body expected something like this, and a sword battle occurred, but with the use of Dominator's touch from Igris, some of the body was destroyed. Leaving an opportunity for an angel to fly down and bombard Asura with light projectiles. Finally, to get the body out of its pain, Igris slashed its head off. The Asura path body has been defeated 5/6. Defeat all 6 bodies to defeat pain. Conan was flying like mad, she had to dodge the black whips and the fire attack sent by Izuku. She saw the Diodara was somehow managing to go on equal ground with the strongest shadow in Izuku's army, but she didn't realize that Fluffy stood up and smashed her where the original pain's body was. Izuku saw that and went towards Orochimaru. Nijire was shooting her beams at the final diva path. She saw that there must be a 5-second delay per attack, which she tried using for her advantage, but still didn't work. When she was being pulled in, she dug her dagger that Izuku gave her on the ground and pushed up to 40% of energy waves through her feet so she wouldn't be coming close to the diva path. Nijire also had to dodge the black rods that did cause some cuts to her body. She saw it was the only path body left, so using all of her might, and probably the knowledge that a 10-winged angel is behind her, she shouted, 120% Nijire wave. With it she fell back to be healed by the angel, whilst the wave was too big to dodge. It was shot during the 5-second gap, and with the diva path not being able to dodge, it was destroyed. Diva path body has been defeated 6/6. Pain can be defeated now. Diodara was on his last leg, literally, Mikao cut his left leg off. The blonde revealed his shirt, showing a mouth in his chest, feeding it some clay. He thought C0 with it, a massive explosion. The explosion looked like a Happy Patrick with a nightcap from SpongeBob. Dracula and all of the angels around the explosion felt the buildup of energy, so they put up their strongest barriers to protect their liege and his friend. It was something that was useful to block the C0 bomb. Diodara the Mad Bomber has been defeated. Pain, Orochimaru, Conan and Toby, that was all that was left. Nijire just started to wake up from her healing whilst Izuku drank a fatigue reduction and the mana replenishing potion. All of Izuku's shadows bar Gabriel, who was in the human world, surrounded the 4 individuals, all looking menacing. Then there was the ogre on the bison's back. Izuku thought that the 2 made a bond with each other, they were treated the same, but everyone knew that they were some of the weakest shadows there are. Izuku looked around and saw the damage done by their fighting. The place that was most probably a place of worship was a war zone. But he noticed something which allowed a smirk to appear on his face. Arise. He knew that Pain and Toby were the strongest out of the 4 remaining AKATSUKI, and having some more to help would be a boost, as we saw that Toby was just messing around before. But that multiple shadows came up. The white Zetsu clones and the bodies of Pain were the only ones not able to be summoned back, as they were created, though Izuku hoped that he could get Pain as a shadow. Finally, Izuku chose their first name, like Sasori of the Red Sands, was only Sasori. There was a positive, the skills of the shadows were the same and had the same equipment as they did from the beginning of the battle. This meant that he didn't need to give Samehada to kiss him or get all of the puppets for Sasori, as they will be rebuilt by his mana, as shown with the 3rd Kazakage standing behind Sasori. Isam LV.1, Captain. Itachi LV.1, Captain. Idara LV.30, Elite Knight. Iden LV.25, Elite Knight. Bikuzu LV.30, Elite Knight. Sasori LV.30, Elite Knight. Zetsu LV.25, Elite Knight. Isam grew in size and had some more shark features, dark blue shadow skin with a black shadow armor around his body, but had red shadow clouds. He carried the shadow version of Samehada, which was all dark blue. Itachi had a lighter shade of skin, but his eyes were red, showing his Sharingan, more specifically the Mangekyo Sharingan spinning. He too wore the black shadow armor with the red shadow clouds. Deidara had yellow shadow hair with a light blue skin tone. The main difference was that both of his additional mouths were shown to the public eye. He also has the armor of the red clouds. Iden didn't change much, but he was quieter, his silver shadow hair and light blue skin, with a 3-bladed red shadow side. Bikuzu was different to his original body. He has 5 masked faces on his body, 1 on his head and the 4 on his chest. They all had an element written on top of the masked faces. His size increased similar to Kisame, but had green shadow eyes. Sasori was in a shadowy version of his puppet with red shadowed eyes. His puppets were all floating behind him menacingly, awaiting the call of his master. Finally Zetsu, a black shadow side with the other being light blue. The fly trap was made up of green shadow. The green shadow eyes were the only facial feature he had. The addition of the 7 new shadows of higher ranks was something he was happy about. Nijira will be staying out and possibly helping with support attacks, whilst Izuku and his shadows were going to fight the group. Having 4 opponents go against over 500 shadows was something to say. Izuku wouldn't say it out loud, but he respected strong people, and the 4 are strong. Itachi, Burrow and Slimy were the leading group against Orochimaru. The slithery snake had to use all of his tricks in the books to dodge and counter the 3 captain grade shadows. Fireballs to snake summons were used but quickly dispatched. Itachi didn't have to worry about eye damage from his Mangekyo Sharingan, so Susanoo was produced, and with the special ability with the Yata mirror sealing Orochimaru pretty quickly. He did leave a piece of Orochimaru for his liege. A small smile came on the clan's killer's face. Orochimaru had been defeated. Killed. 8/11. Dracula, Mikao, Deidara were dealing with the only female in the group, Conan. Of course other shadows helped like Raphael, but they were all in the sky one way or the other. The backwards and forwards of their attacks was something to see. Not every day you see Mikao having a run for his money. The paper attack sadly had a weakness to a stronger repelling force, such as Mikao's wind, whilst Deidara bombarded her with his flying bombs. Then she had to dodge multiple of Eastern European bird women and angels, trying to kill her. Pain had something that was different from the other bodies of his. In the original world of Naruto, he would have been all skin and bone with multiple black rods implanted on him. The visceral difference was that he wasn't skin and bone but had muscle. His red hair parted for the view of the original Rinnegan, and had a similar physique to the diva body. Our was what was different. He sent out the 6 bodies to test the abolites of the 2, and to weaken them both. Additionally, he was slowly gaining knowledge how they fought and their patterns. Now he can utilize all of the powers granted to him by the eyes that the Rakido Sennin had. Thobi on the other hand was waving his hands, then began being serious. Nijira's sweat dropped whilst looking at him. Baruka, who was there for a rematch, with Fisher and the rest of the AKATSUKI. She was there for support as she was too tired to fight properly. Nijira was usually the one with the abnormal stamina reserves from her quirk, as a side ability was a higher stamina storage. But the previous battle and shooting the diva path caused her to use up some mental energy, which could only be replenished by sleep. Shooting a couple of 10% rays at the masked man, all of the attacks went through like it was nothing. This frustrated her to no end, as this was similar to Mirio's ability. Inside of Nijira's mind with some history. Nijira, as most of the UA knew her, was part of the Big 3, meaning high A rank to low S rank heroes in training. When they would graduate, then the 3 of them would most certainly become top 10 in a couple of years. That wasn't her speaking about it, but the people around them, from Ryukyu to Nezu to even Recovery Girl. There was one problem: at the end of their second year, the three, meaning her, Tamaki and Mirio, all were around the same level. During their break, spring break, Mirio exploded out of the range of her and Tamaki, then Tamaki went up in power too. She wasn't jealous, but sometimes wondered if she was enough. Would she be forgotten again? Would the two leave her? As the months went on, she realized that the three were not as close as they used to be. Then one evening, when she went to the room of Mirio to ask him and Tamaki to train, she overheard a conversation. "So you have one for all, so what?" Tamaki asked the other occupant in the room. "Yeah, All Might gave me the quirk as he believed me to be worthy as his successor." Mirio replied to him. Nijire was shocked, so that why there was a golden aura around Mirio sometimes. "Are you going to tell Nijire?" Tamaki asked him. Nijire didn't see it, but Mirio frowned at that. "I won't. I promised All Might that I won't say that I have Ofa to anyone except you, Tamaki." At that moment, Nijire walked away with a downcast expression. She was lucky that she left there, and then, if she stayed, she would have heard the next few words. "And she would spill it if I know her." Tamaki just shook his head at the stupidity of his best friend. After that, she concentrated, working to get stronger, gain more stamina and experience. Ryukyu even said that she was probably the most well-known out of the big three in Japan, which some happiness returned to. She didn't let the Ofa talk bother her and continued on her way. Then she saw Izuku Midoriya on a massive shadowy bear. She knew then and there, Mirio would have competition for the #1 place. Her first gate experience with him and the two top 10 heroes may have been scary, but one of the best and funnest times she had had for a long time. She did grow in power to become a higher A rank that borders on low S from that gate alone. She occasionally did the weaker ones like the E and D rank gates with some other sidekicks to practice her energy manipulation and started seeing the difference. Like during the fight with the diva body, she never knew she could go over 100%. Now she has a new attack, but she would have to train for it. It was all because of one person, the one who was facing off against a red-haired man with a weird eyes. A small smile came over her face looking at her crush. End of Nijire's story. Whilst that was happening, Izuku was the one to deal with pain. The reason was that Izuku didn't want to become over-reliant on his shadows and grow his skills. Yes, having his shadows to help him clear out dungeons is cool, but just before meeting Kathleen Naka, Star and Stripe, he was the weakest national rank hero. Don't get him wrong, being the 10th strongest recognized hero or a hero in training was amazing, but after being punched by All Might all those months ago, he had a new goal: to become the strongest. All Might was slowly retiring. He will of course patrol but less often and concentrate helping the next generation of heroes and his secret successor. Fighting 1v1 against an opponent who was definitely a mid-level captain would surely improve his skills. Some more levels on his skills would be good, and an evolution would be a bonus. Jumping forward, he used the skill Sprint and rushed towards the original body of Pain. The red-haired expected the turn of events and started gathering his own power to form a protective barrier to block Izuku's kick. After holding for 2 seconds, Izuku sent out shadow tendrils making spikes under the redhead, Pain absorbing the energy attack, then countered by sending an almighty push. Izuku, doing the same, used his control over gravity to pull Pain with him. Meeting halfway, the duo continued their beautiful dance of fists and kicks, whilst Pain infused himself with the Asura powers. Grunting, Izuku jumped back. He sent out his bloodlust, then using Black Whip he took hold of Pain and swung him smashing face first into the cliff, making some rocks fall on the body. Not giving up, Pain sent out 3 summons of his, an ox, rhino and the bird which he stood upon. Fluffy and the scorpions were dealing with the land summons whilst Izuku shot up using his skill Float to fly near the long-necked bird. This was a perfect time to use some of his less used skills to fight Pain off. Getting his dagger ready, he rushed into the airspace of the bird and with the skill Vital Streak 3 times stabbed the bird, making it start to fall. Pain sent out 5 black rods, with one of them hitting Izuku's cloak but not piercing it. Using the skill Fire Manipulation and skill Bloodlust, he sent out a fiery wave of fire induced with bloodlust. It may have cost him 500 MP, but having some of the hair burned up from Izuku's opponent was worth it. Conan was on her last few breaths. She was finally defeated when Uriel came up with a specific light-based attack that can deal a continuous amount of damage on paper. With that attack, she was shot in 2 locations, her wings and her arm. If she tried to reform now, then she would have been without her legs and arm. She wanted to try her final technique of splitting the land and making the inside explode, but that sadly didn't work due to Uriel, the smartest angel in Izuku's army. Now she was lying down waiting for what awaited her in her afterlife, but she secretly hoped for being turned into a shadow as she realized that the personalities stayed the same, but different loyalties laid. But that she breathed her final breath with a small smile and a tear coming from her right eye. This actually made me cry. Uriel made sure that she was dead by checking her pulse and then fully closing her eyes. Conan, Angel of Death, has been defeated. When Izuku saw the message that 2 of the 4 died, he backed off whilst sending some Black Whip and Pain who dodged. With a mental Burrow and Slimy went for Pain with Uriel and Dracula, and some other shadows went for Pain whilst Izuku went to the fallen bodies. Arise. He muttered it twice, but both shadows arose from the ground. Orochimaru had a light grey tone of shadowed skin with slitted yellow shadowed eyes. He noticed that Orochimaru had the Kusanagi, but there was the original Kusanagi on the floor near him. The difference was that Orochimaru had a black version of what he has now. Orochimaru LV.1, Captain. Konan had her skin light blue, whilst her hair was a purple shade, her rose had a darker purple tint to it. The difference was now that she had legs and wings at the same time, but made out of paper were the wings. Now she didn't have to lose her legs to gain wings. With that the 2 AKATSUKI members rushed towards Pain. Konan LV.1, Captain. Izuku saw that the redhead was having a little more trouble when he introduced his old friend Konan and the Snake-san and Orochimaru. With that the teen rushed to Toby with his skill. Sprint full force surprising the ninja, and it allowed him to hiss the face of the man cracking the mask a bit. During the whole ordeal Izuku realized the same thing as Nijire did, Toby could only attack you when he was solid, meaning that was the only chance to strike. There was a smirk under Toby's masked face, his red eye spinning wildly waiting for the next move that will happen. When nothing happened for a couple of seconds he started. Firstly Toby went through some kind of hand signs, then shot out a massive wave of fire that was heading towards Izuku and Nijire. Hisum and some water spirits shot water dousing the flames, this allowed Izuku to move through the mist with his senses high on alert. When Toby was just appearing next to him, he used the skill. Gravity manipulation imbued with his MP to form his finishing move, whispering he said whilst crossing his middle over his pointer finger upwards, domain expansion. Total darkness. But that Toby was inside a black void, his Sharingan was not working properly, meaning that he couldn't escape from that prison. The taxing attack was in a way beautiful, but deadly anyways. Inside Toby was being consumed by the shadows all around him with more whip-like structures being present. For him he thought it was 3 days, but in reality was only a couple of seconds of mind-breaking. Toby the masked Uchiha was defeated. The limp body was the answer, no Izanami or Izanagi could have saved Toby, otherwise known as Obito Uchiha from Izuku's final technique. There are 2 variants to the technique, one for humans and the other for monsters, Aka making them go unconscious and killing them respectfully. Now Izuku was panting as this technique does involve using his fatigue as well as his mana. Looking over at Pain, he saw all of the shadows starting to tear the last monster up. Izuku just smirked seeing that all of the original shadows improved well. Pain has been defeated. Alarm. Quest. Defeat the Akatsuki, Part 1 quest of the Key Collection, completed. Akatsuki was originally a group of 11 S-class missing ninjas from a universe far away. Defeat the 11 to continue with your collection. Rewards. Reward 1. Gate Key, 2. Reward 2. Random skill from the opponents. Reward 3. Killed. 11 11s. Do you want to collect the rewards? Yes no. All levels have been calculated from this dungeon. You leveled up 9 times. You are level 154. Special reward for reaching LV. 154. Do you want to receive it? Yes no. He wobbled towards Nijire and sat next to her. We did it. She just smiled and leaned over, laying her head on Izuku's shoulder. He ignored all of those messages and looked at Nijire by the corner of his eye. We sure did. A smile was etched on her face, doing something bold she moved her hand towards Izuku's one and held his. This shocked Izuku, but let his hand squeeze Nijire's in comfort. Thank you. I should be saying thank you. The 17-year-old asked in confusion, he really was thankful. Without her the battle would have been different. She shook her head lightly, I should be thanking you, because of you I am getting stronger and discovering things I never knew about myself like doing the 120%. You believe that I am strong but know my limits and gently push them for me to grow stronger. You are one of the strongest in the world, and yet you are not like some of the top 10 heroes, you don't boost other egos and not yourself. Now Nijire took her chance, since I saw you in the sports festival with Fluffy I knew I had to meet you, meeting you with Ryukyu-sensei was a boon. Getting to know you was something else I enjoyed. Izuku was listening to it all not interrupting her, then she looked at him with her eyes brimming in determination and love shocking the young man, but he had a gentle smile on his face. You are compassionate, helpful, truthful and are not afraid to speak your mind. I admire your strength and courage, rising quickly and helping the people that needed help. I thought it was a crush, but after spending more time with you and having fun and the memories we made that I would cherish to the end of the days. What I want to say, if you would give me a chance, I would love to be your girlfriend. I know about Rumi and Gabriel, even if I need to talk to them I will understand. Nijire said, but now she had her head down. Flashback before the Akatsuki gate with Maruko on the phone to Gabriel and Izuku. Hey Bun Bun, what's up? Izuku asked as he got out of the shower. Rumi could clearly see the defined body that her boyfriend had. Izuku had to get out of the shower to answer a call from his girlfriend. Wiping some drool she spoke, "I am dealing with a case in South Japan. Reports of a gang being there, demanding to rule that place." Shaking her head, she continued as she saw Gabriel nodding to her. "You said you were going to a gate today, right?" Rumi and Gabriel realized that even though they want their man to themselves, they would have to share him. Both of them knew that Izuku mostly grew up by himself since his mother died, bullied and rejected, due to him being quirkless a time before. They too saw the juxtaposition of the looks he was getting now, Rumi as she had knew Izuku for much longer. Secretly before her first official meeting with him, she did an investigation with some of her police friends towards Aldera High School, and she was not pleased. After Izuku woke up from his coma and getting to school to do his exam, he was treated like a celebrity. The duo knew that Izuku was in need of love, even if he says that the two were enough for him, they knew that Izuku was able to love more. So that is how this plan started. Izuku just nodded, "Yeah, the Akatsuki gate, why? You planning on going with anyone, right?" Izuku quirked an eyebrow, he could hear a hint of worry in her tone. Rumi knew that Izuku could deal with an S-rank gate, no problem with his shadows around him, but she was still his girlfriend, and that gave her the right to worry about him. "I don't really know, I will be leaving Gabriel as she is the only one that doesn't scare people and can talk. Sorry, Burrow." With that the shadow ant rose up with a teary expression. Izuku knelt down and patted Burrow on the head, making the ant a little happier. Gabriel and Rumi shook their heads. It was like seeing Izuku dealing with a child. If you would ignore the structure of the child being as that of an ant, this may be seen as cute. Gabriel and myself have talked, and how should I put it? Now the both looked and acted nervously for some reason that Izuku couldn't explain why. Gabriel interfered with her melodic voice. "What the rabbit is saying," ignoring the twitching eye of Rumi, "is that if you find a woman who wants to be with you for you, and we of course approve, you can be with them, darling." Izuku had his eyes widen at that. "I thought the two of you were enough for me." This made the girl smile slightly. A lot of males would love to have multiple girlfriends, especially being a national rank they were given more privileges. Rumi shook her head. "Oh, thanks Zuku, but we know that you can love more people." Izuku frowned then sighed. "I won't be actively looking. If someone asks me out first I will consider them first, then the two of you can. That is my only deal." The girls nodded to that. Then Gabriel smirked. "I hear the blue-haired female is interesting in you, I approve." Izuku spluttered, cursing that the system doesn't help him with relationships, with Rumi finally saying, "I approve of her too." But the two still need to discuss with themselves about the 318 females. What a long summer. End of flashback. After Izuku explained this to her, he continued, "I have never been good with love, but I would like to try. You are strong, beautiful, powerful, kind-hearted, cute when you ask those questions and funny, so I would have been stupid to not even consider it. We should go on a date first, then we can see what will happen," Izuku said, gently squeezing her hand. Ijiro just sat and listened. This went way better than she expected and was excited for her first actual date. "Thanks Zuzu." She truly was happy at that moment. No big three, no hero name, just her and her crush holding hands near the untouched statue of the horned three-eyed woman. "This is complicated, Zuku Rumi, darling Gabriel, Zuzu Najire, Izuefo granddaughter. Actually it isn't complicated. I hope you like the new addition. Now to everything else I wanted to put in." The duo sat in comfortable silence whilst Izuku was silently looking at the screens in front of him. He firstly looked at his new stats with the addition of the 9 levels. Izuku realized that his level growth is slowing down considerably, but is going up anyways. Status. Name. Izuku Midoriya. Job. Shadow Monarch. Title. The one who overcame adversary, +4. Level. 154. Fatigue. 0. HP. 38,320. MP. 30,880. Strength. 323. Agility. 314. Sense. 329. Vitality. 322. Intelligence. 452. He saw in his inventory 2 swords, Samehada and Kusanagi. Now he does have 2 powerful swords of cutting and absorbing that can help him. Now Izuku had 2 S-rank swords. The last sword he had, Michal's longsword, was given to Igris as a present. Item. Samehada. Item class. S. Type. Sword. Attack. +400. Sentient sword wielded by Kisame Hoshigaki, made from chakra-infused shark fins with some fuinjutsu. It shreds, not cuts. Can be equipped or stored. Effect. Absorption. It absorbs energy from attacks and energy from opponents when touched. Item. Kusanagi. Item class. S. Type. Sword. Attack. +550. Wielded by Orochimaru, the grass cutter can cut through anything if imbued with energy. It has a paralytic poison that is produced that paralyzes weaker opponents. Effect: Perfect Cutter. Can cut through anything if MP is added. Effect: Paralyzer. Opponents who don't have a regenerative factor may cause paralyzation of the area of impact. Smiling at that, he looked over at his skill section and a smile appeared on his face. Skill: Weapons Expert leveled up from LV.2 to LV.3. Skill: Hand-to-hand leveled up from LV.1 to LV.2. Skill: Sprint leveled up from LV.7 to LV.max. Skill: Fire Manipulation leveled up from LV.2 to LV.3. Skill: Gravity Manipulation leveled up from LV.2 to LV.3. Skill: Shadow Manipulation leveled up from LV.5 to LV.6. Skill: Float leveled up from LV.4 to LV.max. Skill: Float evolved into skill. Flight LV.1. Skill: Black Whip leveled up from LV.3 to LV.4. For those wondering about some of the skills that are maxed out, I am waiting for some of OFA quirks to manifest, so it will be cooler and it will give me an opportunity to combine them. Skills: Passive. Unknown, max. Muscularity, LV.1. Weapons Expert, LV.3, evolved. Hand-to-hand Expert, LV.2. Elemental Resistance, LV.5. Active. Sprint, LV.max. Bloodlust, LV.max. Fire Manipulation, LV.3, evolved. Vital Strike, LV.4. Stealth, LV.7. Gravity Manipulation, LV.3, evolved. Spear Throw, LV.5. Healer, LV.8. Shadow Manipulation, LV.6. Flight, LV.1, evolved. Black Whip, LV.4. He was happy about that, even if his level won't rise up fast enough, having his skill evolve and level up was always a good thing for him. Now he looked at the window talking about the AKATSUKI quest. Quest: Defeat the AKATSUKI, Part 1 quest of the Key Collection, completed. AKATSUKI was originally a group of 11 S-class missing ninjas from a universe far away. Defeat the 11 to continue with your collection. Rewards: Reward 1. Gate Key, 2. Reward 2. Random skill from the opponents. Reward 3. Killed 11 11s. Do you want to collect the rewards? Yes, no. Thinking yes, Izuku was given the rewards to the all 3. Reward 1. Biju Gate Key, 2. Item Class: S. Type: Key. Collection: 2. Key to Biju Gate, Location: Tujai Temple in Kyoto. Izuku just raised an eyebrow at that. Biju, if he remembered right, were some kind of monsters with multiple tails. Reward 2. Random skill from opponent. Randomizing. 3. 2. 1. You received abilities of Tobi the Masked Uchiha. Randomizing. 3. 2. 1. Ijiro Hado has received the Abelites of Dodara the Mad Bomber. Ijiro seemed to realize something was off. Izuku cut her off before she could have say anything. How should I say it, Ijiro? You got the abilities of the yellow-haired bomber. Was it from the quests? How did I get it? How do I use it? She was quieted by Izuku placing a finger to her lips and a smile, causing a little bit of blush to appear on her face. Chuckling softly, he squeezed her hand gently and told her, "You know the explosions. I am pretty sure that instead of clay you can put the explosions into your energy waves or put the energy waves inside something like a ball, then after it hit something, boom." Izuku explained dramatically. She just laughed at him. "What about you? Apparently I got what Tobi has. But together we can become the strongest in Japan." He gave her his fist a bump, a happy but true smile appeared on her face, and fist bumped him. Tobi's abilities, explained further. Click to see what each part is and its abilities. Sharingan. Mangekyou Sharingan. Hashirama's cells. Madara's abilities, explained further. Click to see what each part is and its abilities. Explosion Release. Illusion Destroyer. After telling Nerjira about the notifications, they went to Deidara's profile with Izuku telling her what she can do now. Explosion Release. One can manipulate their inner energy to produce explosions. Due to the user having an ability to produce energy beams externally, infusing the explosions into the energy beams will cause an explosion at the end of the shot. Additionally, using the energy to a solid object, one can store explosive energy inside it, but not for long. Once it is thrown and hits, then it will explode. Illusion Destroyer. Deidara hated illusions of any kind. He created a way to spot, identify and cancel all illusions, maybe sight, smell, hearing or any other. This same boon will go into the new user of the skill. Now the person won't be able to be mind controlled or controlled by any way bar external. Nijiara just sat there with her mouth wide open in shock. Wow, I didn't know about the possibilities with the illusions. Now I need to worry about external manipulation than internal. She muttered in awe and shock. Izuku just smiled at her. With that, Izuku moved on to his new abilities. Sharingan. Binocular ability that will help you perceive things much faster. The 3 Tomo Sharingan has the ability of predicting, copying movements and putting people under illusions. Mangekyou Sharingan. The next stage of the Sharingan, the Mangekyou grants the user many abilities, but each person has their own. Due to having it from Tobi, you will gain his abilities. Kamui is a teleportation method that can allow you to travel to different locations. It also allows you to intangible. An addition is the use of Susanoo, a skeletal figure made up of mana called the ultimate protection. The abilities will cost mana. Hashirama's cells. Stolen from the body of the first Hokage, this was originally to help not becoming blind after the using the Mangekyou. Now it holds the use of using wood release, and after some time, the Mangekyou Sharingan can evolve into its final form. Damn, wood release. I wonder why he couldn't use wood. Izuku muttered. But then they laughed. It was a time when they both could relax and be in the presence of each other. Okay, last reward for this quest. With that, the third reward was shown, a part of a puzzle. Item name. The Puzzle of the Elementals PT.1. Item class. Type. Puzzle. Collect 4 pieces of this puzzle and solve it. After that, a surprise will await you. I wonder what kind of surprise it will be. Nijiara said, looking curiously at the piece of paper. It was obviously been split up into 4 pieces, but the writing in the middle was something that neither of the duo seen before. Then she remembered something. You reached level 150. What did it say? Smiling at his friend who he will have a date soon with, he looked at the message and read it to her. Special reward for reaching LV 150. Do you want to receive it? Yes, no. After muttering yes, the screen changed into some information, then some more words. Izuku just groaned in the inside. Well done for surpassing level 150. Now you are a high international level hero. Not many can defeat you, but remember, being careless is the quickest way for death. Due to you surpassing level 150, you will gain 3 rewards, similar to how you got one at level 50 and level 100. Rewards. Reward 1. Plus 50 additional points. Reward 2. Gate key rank. Reward 3. Skill. Infinity. Izuku had his eyes widen at this. He did not expect to get this much. Though he is mainly wondering what is the final skill. He placed 40 points into intelligence and 5 to agility and strength. One of the reasons for intelligence was to increase his save shadow skill, so he can get all of the B rank gate monsters into his shadows. Reward 2. Gate key rank. Item name. Truth gate key. Item class. Type. Key. This must be done alone. Secrets will be revealed that cannot be told to anyone. Location in Washington Monument. That is pretty far. Izuku spoke with Nijiara nodding. Reward 3. Skill. Infinity. You have learnt a new skill. Infinity, LV.1, active. Allows you to distort space and time at will. Main function is to make an infinity around you so no one and nothing can touch you. 500 MP to activate and 100 per second to keep up. Izuku grimaced. That was an overpowered skill, sure, but he can keep it active for just over 300 seconds. It may be long, but it is mana exhausting to be used. Nijiara short-circuited at this information. Sure, she did get a nice new power, but Izuku was kinda lucky with his quirk. She just wondered how powerful their kids will become. Both shaking of their thoughts, Izuku went up to Pain and Tobi and set her eyes. Both got out of their shadows, and Izuku nodded to how they looked. Pain had deep purple eyes with shadows coming out of them, whilst having red shadowy hair similar to Igris. Tobi on the other hand still kept his mask, but it was orange, though you could see the red eye with shadows coming out of it shouting power. Pain LV.10, Captain. Tobi LV.10, Captain. Now the two left with Izuku's new ability Kamui into Izuku's room, where the both fell down onto the bed and started to sleep, awaiting the next day when school restarts, or at least for the hero students at UA. Gabriel saw this, ignoring her twitching eye. A gently smile came over her face. She quickly got under the blanket and hugged Izuku, with him unconsciously hugging her back. Attack. Using fire manipulation to code a sword hand. Name. Hell's Punch Hell's Slash. MP. 0. Fatigue. 2. It is at the skill level where MP is no longer required, but the max temperature currently is 3000 C. The fatigue is there due to the skill. Elemental resistance isn't high enough yet, reaching 2000 C. So Izuku must be careful, otherwise he will end up like Dabi. Attack. Gravity manipulation, blue. Name. Blue. MP. 1200. Fatigue. 5. A technique that absorbs everything it touches and attracts more to it. The higher the gravity manipulation, the lower the cost. Attack. Gravity manipulation, red. Name. Red. MP. 800. Fatigue. 3. The technique that repels everything it touches and its surroundings. The higher the gravity manipulation, the lower the cost. Attack. Domain expansion. Total darkness. Name. Total darkness. MP. 18,000 kill 10,000 unconscious. Fatigue. 25 kill 15 unconscious. The technique that have two modes, the one that kills any target stuck inside due to the shadows. The other one was the version that Izuku used against All Might. It knocks the person unconscious, but there may be some that survive the knockout. The domain expansion is made by the infusion of shadow manipulation, bloodlust and gravity manipulation. The cost will be the slowest to go down. If anyone is wondering what Izuku's stats are with everything, then it will be under this. Status. Name. Izuku Midoriya. Job. Shadow Monarch. Title. The one who overcame adversary, +4. Level. 154. Fatigue. 0. HP. 38,320. MP. 31,280. Strength. 328. Agility. 319. Sense. 329. Vitality. 322. Intelligence. 492. Remaining points. 0. Physical damage reduction. 15%, plus 50%. Physical pain nullification. 37%. Dobi's infused power. Skills. Passive. Unknown, max. Muscularity, LV.1. Weapons expert, LV.3, evolved. Hand-to-hand expert, LV.2. Elemental resistance, LV.5. Active. Sprint, LV.max. Bloodlust, LV.max. Fire manipulation, LV.3, evolved. Vital strike, LV.4. Stealth, LV.7. Gravity manipulation, LV.3, evolved. Spear throw, LV.5. Healer, LV.8. Shadow manipulation, LV.6. Flight, LV.1, evolved. Black whip, LV.4. Infinity, LV.1. Job specific. Shadow extraction, LV.1 and 509/589. Save shadow, LV.2 and 509/561. Shared inventory, LV.1. Shadow exchange, LV.1. Shadow army. Ogre boss, LV.3, normal. 8. Low tier Nomu, LV.6, elite. Great Siberian bison, LV.15, elite. 40. Four winged angels, LV.4, knight. 10. Upper tier Nomu, LV.7, knight. 30. Cherub, LV.10, knight. 33. Knight, LV.14, knight. 35. Power angel, LV.17, knight, 6 winged angels. 8. Throne angel, LV.21, knight, ringed angel with eyes. 20. Ice bears, LV.24, knight. 10. Ice elves, LV.24, knight. 37. Rusalka, LV.25, knight, female Slavic water spirit. 3. Upper tier Nomu, LV.28, knight. 51. 8 winged angels, LV.29, knights. 20. Deathstalker scorpions, LV.1, elite knight. Thickened cottage, LV.1, elite knight, moving house. 6 magicians, LV.2, elite knight. 46. Alchemist, LV.3, elite knight, Slavic bird woman. 5. Castle dwelling vampire, LV.3, elite knight, illusion vampire. 20. Ant soldiers, LV.5, elite knight. Then 10 winged angels, LV.5, elite knight. 14. Vodunoi, LV.6, elite knight, frog Slavic water spirit. Virtues, LV.10, elite knight, 2 winged powerful angels. Fluffy, LV.12, elite knight, alpha ice bear. 24. Gothic vampire, LV.12, elite knight, weapon vampire. 31. Dark vampire, LV.12, elite knight, bat vampire. 4. Seductive sinning vampire, LV.15, elite knight. Zadkiel, LV.19, elite knight, dominion 10 winged angel. 4. Elder vampire, LV.22, elite knight. 5. Leshy, LV.24, elite knight, Slavic forest deity. Iden, LV.25, elite knight. Zetsu, LV.25, elite knight. Idar, LV.30, elite knight. Bikuzu, LV.30, elite knight. Sasori, LV.30, elite knight. Beast, LV.31, elite knight, near high-end Nomu. Birit, LV.35, elite knight, Seraphim. Fisher, LV.36, elite knight, great water spirit Vodunoi. Dracula, LV.39, elite knight, grand elder vampire. Orochimaru, LV.1, captain. Conan LV.1, Captain. Isam, LV.1, Captain. Itachi LV.1, Captain. Raphael LV.4, Captain, Seraphim. Slimy LV.4, Captain, Slime High-End Nomu. Baruka LV.6, Captain, Elf King. Igris LV.6, Captain, Knight. Bane LV.10, Captain. Toby, LV.10, Captain. Beru, LV.22, Captain. Mikau LV.23, Captain, Three-Faced High-End Nomu. Gabriel LV.32, Captain, Seraphim. Armor. Rocket Gauntlet, C rank, right hand plus 5% dam red, paralyze contagious. High Knight's Gauntlet, B rank, left hand plus 5% physical damage reduction. St. Peter's Ring, A rank, left middle finger plus 20 and plus 20 vit. High Magician's Ring, B rank, right middle finger regen 10 mana per min. High Knight's Chest Plate, B rank, chest plus 7% physical damage reduction. Cloak of Protection, S rank, cloak up to S rank attack protection. Trousers of Darkness, A rank, legs plus 10% dam red, plus 5 STR Agi. Red Knight's Helmet, S rank, head 15% dam red, plus 20 STR vid. Lord's Earring, S rank, left ear plus 20 STR plus 20 vid 1/4. Lord's Necklace, S rank, neck plus 20 Agi plus 20 and 2/4. Lord's Ring, S rank, right middle finger plus 20 and plus 20 cents 3/4. Lord's Bracelet, right arm plus 20 vit plus 20 cents 4/4. Hero's Boots, A rank, shoes plus 8% dam red, 50% red fall, plus 15% speed. Weapon. T-Rex Dagger, C rank, dagger plus 20 attack minus 25% damage reduced. Vampire Killer, A rank, dagger plus 400 attack extra plus 75 against vampire, effect cauterization. Lance of Longinus, S rank, spear plus 800 attack extra plus 200 against gods enemies. Orb of Liberation, A rank, magic item plus 50% healing protection magic, plus 25% damage magic. Michael's Longsword, S rank, longsword plus 400 attack effect cleansing, Igris. Samahada, S rank, sword plus 400 attack absorbs energy from attacks enemy. Kusanagi, S rank, sword plus 550, attack MP added, then cut through anything paralysis effect. Titles. Title. The one who overcame adversary. The title give to those who overcame adversary heroically. Your stats increase proportionally to your missing health. 1% stat increase every 1% HP missing. You have earned, title. Zombie Slayer. Your stats will increase by 20% when facing a dead opponent such as zombies. You also gain 40% more experience killing dead opponents. Title. Mammal Slayer. Your stats will increase by 20% when facing an opponent with a mammal appearance. You also gain 40% more experience killing mammal opponents. Title. All-in-One. Your stats will increase by 20% when facing a Nomu opponent and by 30% when facing their creators. You also gain 40% more experience killing Nomus. Title. Angel Hunter. Against all holy type of monsters you gain 40% more experience killing them. Skill explanation. Skill. Sprint LV.8 max, active. Uses 10 MP to start, then uses 1 MP per minute it used. The total speed increases by 50%. Skill. Weapons Expert LV.3, passive, evolved. The passive skill that gives you 60% more experience when using weapons of any kind and a plus 5% speed boost when using a weapon in combat. Skill. Hand-to-hand LV.1, passive. The passive skill that gives you 55% more experience when using only hands for any kind of combat against a villain or monster. Skill. Bloodlust LV.7 max, active. With the use of 5 MP you can intimidate an opponent using strong energy for 1 minute, which includes the Stare of Fear reducing their stats by 50%. Several targets can be selected. Skill. Fire Manipulation LV.3, active, evolved. 0 mana skill, can use fire as an attack, defense, or support. Max temperature is 3000 C. Skill. Vital Strike LV.4, active. Dagger only skill. Uses 40 MP to deal critical damage as you attack your foe's vital area. Skill. Stealth LV.7, active. It requires 170 MP to activate and 4 MP per second to use it for a longer period of time. You become invisible to the naked eye with sound, smell, and presence erased. Skill. Gravity Manipulation LV.3, active, evolved. No mana for the previous form Dominator's Touch side, but if added mana then a negative and positive form of energy will be created. Skill. Spear Throw LV.5, active. Deal damage by throwing your spear. As the skill's level increases, damage and accuracy will increase 35 MP. Skill. Healer LV.8, active. Then heal up to advanced injuries, with the possibility of regrowing some missing organs and cells. The current speed is medium 15 mana per second. Skill. Shadow Manipulation LV.6, active. No mana required. You can control shadows to capture, kill, or anything the mind want to. Skill. Elemental Resistance LV.5, passive. The ability to be protected from different elements, as a side effect of this skill is the gaining of resistance to extreme temperatures. The range is -90 C to 2000 C. Skill. Flight LV.1, active, evolved. Ability to use the air like a playground. The first gift of the 6 from All Might's predecessor. 1 MP per second of use. Skill. Black Whip LV.3, active. No MP required, the second gift of the 6 from All Might's predecessor. Produces a shadowy substance with hints of green that can be used for capture, swinging and more. Skill. Shadow Exchange LV.1, job specific. No mana required. Exchange locations between the user and the selected shadow soldier. This skill can be used again only after the 3-hour cooldown is finished. Cooldown will change depending on the skill level. Skill. Infinity LV.1, active. Allows you to distort space and time at will. Main function is to make an infinity around you so no one and nothing can touch you. 500 MP to activate and 100 per second to keep up. The next day we find Izuku in the middle of the bed with both Najire and Gabriel hugging him on either sides of him. He smiled lightly and shook his head gently at his predicament. In all honesty, he didn't mind it, but felt like he shouldn't be doing it. Now as his sensei called them back, he had around 10 days of summer before UA actually starts, but during those 10 days the hero students of year 1 would be busy. Gently waking the 2 girls next to him up, he could see Najire with her bed hair and some drool coming from her mouth. She mumbled, "That was the best sleep I had." Then she realized where she was and an atomic blush came to her face. Gabriel just chuckled at her. The angel didn't mind Najire. Rumi was a rival of hers, even though she could decimate her pretty quickly. Izuku sensed a build-up of energy, most probably the explosion release she gained during their last gate, so he shushed her and explained. "Last night when we came from that dungeon, both of us fell asleep instantly." He rubbed the back of his head at the end. In all honesty, he didn't want to rebuild his room if Najire somehow managed a way to use her gift. It took her a couple of seconds to calm down, and then a yawn came from her mouth. "I want the warmth," she muttered as she wanted to go back to sleep. It was true, Izuku's body produced a nice warmth that wanted you to keep hugging him. Izuku shook his head. "Sorry, sensei wants my class in our homeroom for something soon. I'll make breakfast." He properly sat up, then started to make his way to the kitchen. When she heard the word breakfast, a switch popped on, waking her up fully. Izuku chuckled. "There is a shower and some spare clothes in the undressing area you can use. Breakfast will be ready in 20 minutes. She hugged him quickly and then left for the shower. It surprisingly took her 15 minutes, and she came out brushing her hair. She was wearing Izuku's baggy black shirt, some of Izuku's shorts. For some reason, the greenette liked how his clothes looked on her. After Najire dried of her hair, she sat on the table bar that was near the kitchen making idle chatter. The 3 occupants of the room were sitting whilst Izuku and Najire were eating. Gabriel could eat but decided not to as it was not needed for her survival at all. Saying goodbye to Najire with a hug, he went to change into his uniform whilst Gabriel lazed around on his bed. Najire went downstairs, forgetting that she still had Izuku's clothes. She said hi to all 19. "Wait, 19. There must be someone new here." Whilst ignoring the look she was getting as she walked off to her dorm. "Downstairs? That was Najire-senpai, right?" Denki asked in shock. He did not expect a big 3-member to be coming down from the dorms in the morning. Katsumi, for once in a blue moon, didn't swear but it answered in a monotone. "She is wearing Izuku's clothing." This shocked all, especially the new girl. She moved in yesterday after being admitted and being tested by Nezu. She is living in the dorm under Katsumi's dorm room in the female side of the building. The day when she was introduced to most of 1A bar Izuku, she was shocked at their kindness and friendliness. She thought that she will get some resentment after she basically got Sayu's seat. Tenya then got all of 1A attention. "We must be going. Izuku will be coming shortly." He knew his friend won't miss a day of school, so he started to prepare to walk to class. Momo nodded. He was clearing some gates yesterday, so that is why he isn't here. She was trying to justify why he wasn't downstairs already. Ejiro then asked, "With Najire-senpai?" Ioka spoke. "I mean, they are friends and work together during the internships." With that they all went to class. The new girl gave a last long look behind her, seeing if Izuku would be coming or not. Class 1A. All of them were sweating bullets, even Izawa. There was a reason, 2 words, Izuku's aura. For some reason he didn't turn it down and was coming closer to their class. Heian asked, "He sure did get strong during the summer." In their class ignoring Izuku, she had the best ability to tell how strong someone is, and Izuku was smelling extra lush for the Korean student. Aizawa nodded to that, and when the door opened most of the students would have fallen to the knees from the pressure a happy Izuku was producing. Happy? What got him so hyped up? With Denki thinking, did he get laid? Aizawa stuttered out, can you lower your aura? It was now a little higher than healed All Might if he released it at once. He knew Izuku grows every battle aura in this case per gate, but now it's something else. Izuku had his eyes widen at that, then turned it down, sorry I was excited to try out some new moves later on today. After getting the shock from Izuku's aura out of the system, Aizawa nodded, okay, some announcements first. Izuku went to his seat and waited patiently with a small excited smile on his face. Firstly, we have a new student, she will be replacing Tsuyu. Can you come forth and introduce yourself? Tsuyu Asui, otherwise known as a spy for All for One in the League of Villains, but secretly one of the two spies. After her questioning, she was sent to a rehabilitation center, but it was mainly used as a safety area too. As Tsuyu was working under AFO, even if she hated it, she could be targeted by AFO's underlings. Now she is safely in a secret area, being led into a better path by the help of the rehabilitation center. Now the girl nodded and walked up to the front, getting a chalk she wrote her name Chika Ashigaka. Chika translated as powerful and strong, that was her name. Whilst she came from a clan that ruled over Japan hundreds of years ago, they still have members of the clan living today. My name is Chika Ashigaka, and my hero name is the Booster Hero. Bia. I came from Shiketsu High and my quirk is Booster, it boosts my strength, flexibility, speed and some other things. I hope we can become friends. Her eyes lingered on Izuku for some time before bowing and walking to her seat. Bia, her hero name Bia, is from ancient Greek mythology, it is a personification of force which she is a force of nature. Izuku was shocked if he was honest, he forgot that there will be a new student from what Nezu told him. Tsukachi conducted a test just in case if she was going to be a traitor, and the results told Izuku that Chika is not. What surprised him the most was her surname. Ashigaka was a clan in Japan a long time ago, who had a lot of political power, with now the main branch of the family keeping the clan name, whilst the branch families have offshoots of the name. What the clan is famous now is strength quirks and blonde hair. The fun fact was that people thought All Might was from that clan, but All Might disagreed to that statement. When Chika sat down, Aizawa continued talking, until the school officially starts again we will be going to be concentrating on ultimate moves, change into UPE uniforms, and meet me in Gym Beta. With that Aizawa left. Izuku was radiating excitement for some reason, this got everyone else to become more and more excited, as not every day you see the neutral but nice Izuku Midoriya this excited. Chika looked at Izuku for a couple of seconds, her face showed interest, but in the inside her mind, a chibi version of Chika was doing loops, seeing how cute her future husband is. Chika had a plan, befriend him, get him on a date, marry and have a lot of kids. That was her foolproof plan which she obviously didn't take weeks to make up. 10 minutes later. Everyone was changed and were in front of 4 teachers, Eraserhead, All Might, Ectoplasm and Cementos. Aizawa continued where he left off, as I mentioned earlier you will be developing or mastering your ultimate moves. Before anyone asks what is an ultimate move let All Might explain. Looking like he was thrown under the bus All Might spoke after a second, ultimate moves is something a person can do with their quirk that is hard to duplicate with other quirks. I basically call my attacks names of USA states, as they have different percentage outputs. Cementos continued, some of you already have ultimate moves. Tenya has his Recipro Burst for example. This made Ingenium's little brother beam in pride. Izuku has his Total Darkness, and I am pretty sure that red and blue are too right. Izuku nodded, yes red and blue are part of my super moves as it costs more energy than normal gravity attacks. Ichako asks, can you show it? She like many of their classmates were curious of this, you won't see one of the strongest people who are not cocky show their moves. Izuku looked at his teachers who gave a nod, with Cementos making 2 pillars. Blue and red are completely opposite, when blue absorbs everything it is near red makes everything be repelled. Izuku shot out a small blue and a small red at the 2 pillars. The blue absorbed some concrete and the pillar making nothing be there whilst red made a trench with debris everywhere. Those attacks are mainly for monsters in the dungeons, but the amount of energy I gave them is nothing compared to the normal ones that I produce, as I am pretty sure this gym will be nothing. He rubbed his head whilst some students looked disbelievingly at the handsome face that had sunglasses on. The reason which the class discovered that Izuku wore glasses was that it lowered the sensory input he receives and to make fights a little more enjoyable. Other students had stars in their eyes seeing the display. Aizawa then moved to talk, it may not be as distractive as Izuku's, but you will need to have an ultimate move that will help you against villains or monsters. They now remembered that gates started to appear, they completely forgot that the news are mostly about gates and how Izuku or his shadows complete most or help heroes out defeat them. Ectoplasm will help you whilst the rest of us three will be coming from student to student. With that, Cementos made Gym Gamma to have multiple flat tops where students could be. And I go outside, some techniques I want to practice will most definitely be more destructive. Izuku asked sheepishly, then for some reason his skill. Limitless activated to the shock of all. What actually happened was Katsumi to get her nerd to help her out. Some of the classmates had their mouth practically down on the floor, seeing what Katsumi was trying to do but failing. Nerd, what is that? She poked again but couldn't touch Izuku. Izuku deactivated his limitless and now Katsumi could touch him. But fell into his arms as the technique was deactivated. Ah, I discovered a new use for gravity. It is tiring, but I can surround myself with gravity, with the addition of time involved in it. He then places Katsumi on her feet, ignoring her flustered look, and the thing wanting to get to me will slow down by half, again and again. Basically you wouldn't be able to touch me if I have it on. Izuku smiled lightly and Katsumi muttered, overpowered nerds. You needed something. But on the inside he said, I just jinxed myself, haven't I? As his skills grew he grew more confident, but from his quirkless upbringing wasn't arrogant, as he knew one stray knife could kill him. Remembering what she wanted, she asked, can I borrow one of your shadows to practice on? Izuku rose an eyebrow and allowed her to continue, whilst the rest of the students started to leave to their blocks with an ectoplasm clone. I have a move thought out, but I need an angel of yours to see if I can work something it out. Nodding, can both of us go to one of the outdoor training areas? Aizawa sighed, sure, go to training field Zulu. Thanking the man, the two were teleported with Izuku's secret power-up, Kamui shocking everyone who was looking. What was that? No one answered that question. Training Field Zulu is a special area for multiple reasons. It is a new edition of a training ground sponsored by Izuku. The way he got his money was transferring his system's gold to yen, as 1G is equal to 500 yen. Nezu was a happy camper after the mysterious donation to make a training field for a national level hero in training, meaning Izuku's private training ground until he gets his own place. It was a large area with a meter-thick walls made up of mana crystals. With the help of Meihatsume, it is mostly flat land with grass under their feet. There was a small river running down and some large rocks. You might ask, why was it so expensive for this training ground? Firstly, Nezu had to buy some more land from the surroundings to make this ground 4 times larger than any other training ground. It also has a system that makes the ground go back to how it looks every day, and the walls are made up to resist one of Izuku's punches minimum. What the fuck was that? Katsumi shouted, then her voice lowered, also where are we? Welcome to Training Ground Zulu. This area allows us to go all out, and the training ground will be as new the next day. That is also a semi-private training ground for me. Izuku said sheepishly at the end, then he got serious at the end to continue, which Katsumi noticed. Kaken, do not tell anyone what I will show you. Only Nijira knows, as I got them yesterday, but Rumi will know soon too though. Katsumi nodded whilst they sat down on the grass near the water. He activated his Sharingan, with the 3 Tomo spinning lazily. These are called the Sharingan. The next level up is the Mangekyou, and that is why I could teleport us here. He then showed her his Mangekyou Sharingan, shocking her. Was it the S-rank gate yesterday? How was it? Katsumi asked as she didn't know anything about it. Izuku nodded and said, Akatsuki, come forth. With that, 11 shadows came from his shadows, shocking Katsumi. Most of them looked human, but she could feel the power. She doubted that she could defeat any of them. Now tell me what you want to train in. I may help you more if you explain it. She sighed and nodded. I have a way to localize my explosions into a small shot for long distance. So far I have my normal explosions and the larger explosions with my gauntlets. I also have my stun shot. It stuns the opponent, but that's it. She lied down on the grass looking at the clear sky. She was frustrated with herself. She was weak. Katsumi thought that she was strong until UA, where she saw the real difference in strength. Even though Katsumi was reliant on her quirk, she had nothing else but some kickboxing under her belt. Another reason was that she couldn't spend time with Izuku during the summer as he was busy, but she was happy that he was here with her alone. Truthfully, I don't know what to do. I wanted to spend time with you as we didn't spend any time during summer at all. Izuku lied down next to her too, looking up in the sky, whilst the Akatsuki members went back to his shadow. Let's start with your idea first. You need to have all areas covered. Your explosions can allow you to fly and shoot from close range, and your style is deadly too. This made a small smile appear on her face. She wasn't in the mood to be her angry self, but a more relaxed self. Your collection of sweat is good for mid-range attacks, and now with this attack you are covering all ranges. What I will advise you to do is to have a small change in your hero costume. This got her full attention. What about grenades? You slowly fill them up with sweat, and even if your quirk is cancelled, somehow you will have a way to continue, even if you are in a sticky situation. Katsumi continued to smile lightly. Thanks Izuku, this means a lot. He just smiled. Look at her. Okay, I will leave you Gabriel and Uriel to help you out. Uriel is smarter than myself, and Gabriel can help translate him for you. Whilst you do that, I have some things I need to check out. She nodded gratefully. Then two shadows appeared near Izuku, and the trio left Izuku for the rocks. Izuku then muttered, I need to see how to activate Susanoo, do wood-style techniques, and probably combine red and blue. He then summoned Tobi and Zetsu as they are the perfect infiltration specialists in his army. Tobi, Zetsu. I want you to look around to find a woman called Nana. He then summoned a magician and asked a shadow to project the image from Izuku's memory. I don't know where she is, but can you two please find her? If you can place her in the shared storage, but if not, notify me please, as you two are the best infiltration specialists. The two nodded and Tobi was gone with a swirl, and Zetsu created 100 clones that all went underground and left to find the woman. He then got out some more shadows who were Captain Grade. Baruka, I want you and Raphael to pair up and see about some gates to be completed. Put the bodies in the inventory, but if there are heroes at the gate, protect them from the shadows, and if they leave anything, then take crystals or the bodies to be sold. I want the same with Mikao and Itachi to pair up. Bear, you can go with Orochimaru. The rest of you can relax, okay? With that, the 6 shadows left to complete their duties. With Najire. After she left 1A dorms, she went to her dorm saying hi to her friends and other members of the Big Three. Najire, where were you yesterday? Mirio asked as she wasn't back in the dorms last night and she didn't need to go to Ryukyu's yesterday. I was in a gate with Zuzu in a gate yesterday, then when we teleported to his room and both of us were tired so we slept in his room. Najire stated the obvious. Tamaki asked, stuttering some, doesn't he have a girlfriend? Najire just smirked at that. He has 2 actually, Maruko and Gabriel. They actually didn't mind if I got into a relationship with him, anyways we will have a date soon. With that, she left the 2 shocked teens standing with neither of them being able to say anything. But the date was true. During the days before USA, Izuku promised to take her on a date. After getting to her room, she changed into her training clothes as she would have to play around with her new ability. Now she also needed to control her emotions a little more until she understood how the new skill actually works. Now in her PE uniform, she started to jog to 3AS private fields, training ground echo. It was nothing special, but it was designed as a ruined city after an earthquake or massive villain attack. Warming up, she started to stretch her body, preparing her muscles for controlling the explosions. Now if she thought about it, she will have something similar to Katsumi Bakugo from 1A, but in a different use. The gyre started on the ground, pointing her left hand out. She concentrated the energy that she felt in the morning. A wave came out and when it hit a building, a massive explosion happened on the side of the building, making debris fly out with flames coming out of the room. She couldn't help but look in shock. If she had done a 100% shot, it would do something similar, but would have a larger concentration than what was shown. She looked at her left hand in shock, having her eyes widen with her mouth agape. The gyre couldn't believe the power. She felt that she could have a larger explosion, but also smaller ones if she concentrated enough. Doing so, she kneeled on one leg and put both hands on the pavement, infusing her quirk's energy in the ground. For some reason she felt as she knew when it will explode. Jumping back, she saw that after 5 seconds the pavement exploded upwards. But as a result of it, she started to pant a little from the exertion. Wow, I really need to train in this more. I might need to ask Zuku for help. With that, she went to one of the benches and drank some water. With Izuku and Katsumi, training field Zulu. It was 2 hours since Izuku and Katsumi arrived in the training field Zulu. During this time, all of the shadows who were not looking for Nana or looking for gates were relaxing or having some mock battles with each other. During this time, Katsumi saw that Izuku was meditating for some reason. Now as she was exhausted from using her quirk, she walked near Izuku and sat next to him, leaning her head on his shoulder. In all honesty, Katsumi didn't care that he had a girlfriend or two, so she asked, "What you doing, nerd?" Smiling lightly, "I am trying to figure out how to use wood. But so far there may be something, but I needed to find it and organize some thoughts. I want to have the wood release, Kamui, Susanoo and Purple completed before I go to USA." The speed that Katsumi shot up from her leaning position to a standing one was impressive. "Why the fuck are you going to USA?" "I am interning under Star and Stripe for the first 2 weeks of our second term, then 2 to 3 days per week after that," Izuku explained calmly. Katsumi just huffed, then she blushed due to her stomach growling in hunger. She shot a glare at Izuku, but he just presented some food that when Katsumi started to dig in, she couldn't have enough. It was spicy katsudon, whilst Izuku had his classic version of katsudon with some tea or juice on the side. It was relaxing after discovering that her nerd is going to USA. That just meant that she will be spending less and less time with him, but that is a life of a hero. After their lunch, Katsumi started to train her long-distance shots, whilst Izuku stood up and went to an area that was not occupied and thought, "I forgot to do it yesterday." But that being thought, Izuku got the dead monsters from his inventory. Arise. With that command 30 shadow soldiers came from the shadows cast by their bodies. Izuku knew that they may not be the strongest, but helping people evacuate or deal with low-level villains, there were 4 types that Izuku arose, the boss obviously, which was a large white tiger, turned to a black shadow tiger with wide eyes, and where the scars were too turned white. Then black horses that had metal armor that when close could have killed a lesser man, but they were fast as a low A rank, but durability of a low B rank. All of the horses were all black, but had blue eyes and darker black mane and tail. Thirdly, monkeys with swords, and 8 of them, they had metal protection with longer metal nails than usual, but that had brown shadows coming from some of their bodies. Lastly, 11 wolves, now they had grey outlines and grey shadowed eyes, their teeth previously shown with metal elongated teeth, but now had longer white teeth. White tiger boss LV.1 knight. Then armored, horse LV.10 elite. 8 armored, monkey LV.10 elite. 11 armored, wolf LV.10 elite. Smiling and petting a couple of wolves, Izuku was now being crowded by the new shadows, wanting to be pet. Smiling lightly, he started to pet all of the 30, not caring about their spiky weapons. After 5 minutes he allowed them to explore the surroundings, seeing that Conan took well with the white tiger. Okay, I think I may have an idea to use wood style. He kneeled down on one knee and placed both hands on the ground. He tried commanding wood style through him into the ground and unconsciously used MP with it. The next thing that happened was something that neither Izuku nor Katsumi could forget. Trees at the height of 130 meters grew from the ground upwards with leaves and branches like it was nothing. Izuku smirked at this, now activating his eyes into the Mangekyo form. He tried pushing MP into them similar to the Kamui to make the Susanoo. Something then started to form around Izuku, and it was some kind of ribs. From the ribs an arm started to grow, then another, with Izuku pushing more MP through his eyes, making the head start to grow. Continuing the trend, the legs started to grow, making Izuku position higher. Finally muscle and skin started to form around the bones. Finally armor and one weapon formed alongside Izuku. Then for some reason he felt as he was flying, he did not see the wings yet. On Izuku's right hand he saw a massive spear with a longer top than commonly seen. Looking back he now saw some kind of wings on his back. Izuku made it rise up and started to fly, trying to get a feel for it. Then using his spear, he cut the tops of the new trees in brutal efficiency. Katsumi just watched with her eyes wide open. She never expected the Susanoo to be something like this. The height of the being made up of MP was larger than the trees that Izuku grown. She didn't even know if Izuku could be defeated anymore. With all of his skills, infinity especially if he masters it, but she would be damned if she got on the bad side. Katsumi was glad that Izuku chose the path of being a hero than a villain, as no one would survive against him and his army of the undead. With Nezu, he looked over at the camera for training ground Zulu and nearly dropped his tea. He just saw that Izuku grown tall ass trees. Climate change could rise lower if he planted more trees. Then looking at what he was doing next, he nearly fainted looking at the tall flying figure. He just thought, what can you not do yet? He then sighed. The HSPC is being more annoying than usual. They have only control of one S rank hero, but a lot of control over the other, Hawks and Endeavor. With the later the HSPC hiding his family problems for some favors. But now as the old national rank hero is starting to lower his activity, they would try to control the newer one, but Nezu was blocking them. Apparently they would want to meet him after Izuku come back from USA. With Izuku and Katsumi. After 10 minutes of flying, Izuku landed down and then dropped to the ground, lying down panting heavily. That was exhausting if he had to say anything. Kamui and Susanoo, the known abelites of the Mangekyo, reduced the MP pretty quickly, and the wood style still needed working out to do. Attack. Mangekyo Sharingan Kamui. Name. Kamui. MP. 200 teleportation 20 per sec permeation. Fatigue. 0. It is a technique for teleportation oneself or another object, but can give the user a permeation ability for only 20 MP per second. This cannot change. Attack. Manipulation of wood and other plant forms. Name. Wood style. MP. 5. Fatigue. 1. The more MP added, the larger or faster the wood or plant will be. It can be used as making more trees or capture or attack and defense. The fatigue will not change how much MP is used. Attack. Mangekyo Sharingan Ultimate Defense. Name. Susanoo. MP. 1000 to 5000 to form and 100 sec to maintain. Fatigue. 5 per min. It is the strongest defense from the Mangekyo Sharingan, can be formed as a ribcage for 1000 MP or full body for 5000 MP. This cannot change. Sighing slightly, he drank some water and then started to think about combining red and blue. The name was obvious purple, but the proportions were annoying to form. He just shook his head and went to Katsumi to help her with all of this. Then days later, Tokyo International Airport. Izuku could have teleported but no, he had to go like other humans because he didn't have traveling rights for USA yet. Waving at some of his fans, he went towards his plane and sat down. It was a private plane that Star and Stripe got for him to be able to travel to her, so he cannot complain. Gabriel came out of Izuku's shadow and sat next to him, looking over the window, seeing the views under them. The engine started running and soon they saw cars as tiny ants. Izuku was thinking how those days in the UA were pretty fun. The rest of 1A will be starting their class soon, and tomorrow they would be completing the exam for provisional licenses. Izuku also started to talk to Chika, not knowing that this interaction was already planned ahead by the one and only Chika. He thought that she was a nice and outgoing person, not like Mina, but similar to Kaiuoka but bigger breasts, no offense to her. He still couldn't do purple, but had gotten better with Kamui and would release. Izuku smiled, remembering the date that he and Nijire went on. The both of them got permission from Nezu, and Izuku teleported them to a beach on the south side of Japan where they enjoyed most of the day. Izuku got them to a private beach that he booked for the day, and after getting wet from the swimming and playing ball games, Izuku set up a BBQ. After that they ate, relaxed and in general had fun. For Nijire, she didn't expect this kind of date but loved it nevertheless. In all honesty, she would prefer this kind of date than going to a restaurant. But that Izuku fell asleep with Gabriel soon after on his shoulder. The two Kwamis came out and slept on Izuku's hair. It was a couple of hours later when the two woke up, seeing that they are going to be coming down to USA soon. They started seeing the ground underneath them, with Gabriel being excited as she was seeing another part of the world. Gabriel went back to Izuku's shadow for some time whilst the plane landed. Getting out of the plane, he saw Kathleen with some of her employees, or as she called them, brothers. Izuku waved at all of them, but when the number one hero of America came to Izuku, the both of them hugged each other, with Izuku not being crunched up like last time, to the surprise of Kathleen. "Welcome to America, Izuku." Izuku just smiled at that. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.